Coffee with the Editor is proudly brought to you by IRZ and the Railway Safety Regulator, RSR.
Bothwell, thank you so much for joining me for an impromptu Coffee with the Editor here at the Rail Safety Regulator's annual Rail Safety Conference. You're from the DBSA, which is the Development Bank of Southern Africa, and I see the word funding.
Yes, indeed. My pleasure.
So during the questions and answers session earlier today, you mentioned a number of rail projects in Africa. So I want you very quickly, in as much detail as you possibly can, in the time that you have allowed, to tell me about them.
Okay, so I will start from the south. In South Africa, we are busy with a few projects. Some of them we're working with state-owned entities to deliver. As you would know, a lot of the policy pronouncements are then actioned by state-owned enterprises or state agencies. So we are working with the Gautrain. I think you heard them speak here at the conference in some of the plans that they have in terms of a rolling stock expansion as well as extensions. In terms of that relationship, as the Development Bank of Southern Africa, we've got a mandated lead arranger role where we've been working with the Gautrain to develop this project. If I talk about the expansion, which is what they call the expansion, is the additional rolling stock. We have assisted them all the way from, last mile project preparation work that was required, and we are still working with them in the process that they are going through. And on the extensions, again, from a project preparation point of view, which, as I spoke in the conference, is quite key in unlocking infrastructure development, because then it takes the project to bankability. We are working with them again on feasibility studies to then extend the rail link to as far as Soweto in the south, Mamelodi in the north, in the city of Tshwane, and as far as the Eastern Mall on the east. So it is quite an ambitious project. It will need a lot of it will still need a lot of work and approvals from government and otherwise for it to be implemented. But these are the things that we need to do today so that we are relevant to the 4 IR that we're talking about if we are going to achieve these things by 2030.
Eswatini Rail Link, previously known as the Swazi Rail Link.
Yes.
You also mentioned something about Nigeria, as well as Dar es Salaam.
Yes, so on the African continent, we're doing a lot of work in the different regions. Southern Africa, East Africa, West Africa. For example, if I start with Tanzania, the bank has approved $100 million to go towards the standard gauge rail project that the government of Tanzania is busy implementing. So we are in final processes in terms of that project, and we are awaiting final approvals from our client, who is the government of Tanzania and its agencies. So that one specifically will help to unlock freight and trade within that region, because as you know, Tanzania is quite strategically located from Dar es Salaam going into the region, the countries that include the DRC, Uganda, Rwanda, amongst others. So it will assist the region to be able to deliver its own products more competitively to the world markets and vice versa. And then if I just quickly touch on Swazi Rail, as I mentioned, that is a project that is still in development. our understanding is that the government is working closely with Transnet, and we've met with Transnet as our client, to see where we can assist in the process. It's quite key again in terms of unlocking that belt for trade going into the oceans and to the rest of the world. So as we get more progress in terms of commercial viability as well as bankability of the project, then we'll move to finalize the funding aspects of it. Other projects that we and clients that we've spoken to are the other sovereigns within Southern Africa. We in discussions with, for example, the Diaspora Investment Development Group in DIDG in Zimbabwe, which is again working with Transnet in terms of a revamp and an upgrade of the rail infrastructure in Zimbabwe. I think you understand that in terms of the North-South corridor, it is quite a critical element of the corridor to have Zimbabwe's infrastructure working, so that all the cargo and materials that have to move between the ports here in Durban, for example, all the way up north to Zimbabwe, Zambia, Malawi, DRC, and so on, can move efficiently.
Absolutely.
Yes. And then if I move on to, on the same breath, again, we are looking and in discussions with Zambia Rail so that we can see how we can work together to also have a same impact of improving their rail infrastructure. Our understanding is that Transnet has already worked with them, and at some point had availed some rolling stock in the interim as they are discussing further support and further cooperation going down the line.
Yeah.
Yes, and we've been working quite closely with Transnet for obvious reasons, because we are all South African state-owned companies, and we believe they've got the technical capabilities, including the ability to manufacture, which is quite key for the South African economy in terms of growing our economy, improving our GDP, but also in terms of localizing industrialization in the African region, so that we are able to manufacture our own locomotives and rolling stock for our requirement as a region. And out of that, there are initiatives that they've got across the continent, including as far as West Africa, Nigeria, as you mentioned, and we are trying to work very close with them so that as they implement and cooperate with their counterparts on the other side, we can also find our role as a development financier for the region to assist them with the infrastructure development.